Okay, so we got there, and you know, we went down and we had a chance to look around and everything else. So the first thing that surprised me was as soon as we got there were clothes hanging out for all of us. And I'm like, okay, well, that's nice. That's nice. Couldn't find out the clothes were used. And she said, well, one thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go in back and everybody's going to have to take a shower and wash all of your stuff. No problem. I'm like, okay, well, maybe the clothes are okay, maybe, just maybe. Well, I had one of my sons with me. He was not pleased because the clothes they gave him to wear were girls' clothes, and he's pretty tall, and yeah, they didn't fit right. It was like girls' athletic spandex pants and spandex t-shirt. He didn't look like a boy at all. We ain't gonna talk about that. Hopefully he doesn't see this video. That way he doesn't get mad at it, right? We'll see. He was, what, 12, 13 at the time, I believe. Well, when it came down to me taking my shower, I'm like, okay, well, hold on. Whoa, 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 whoa. I need my own underwear. She said, well, I'll go down and find you a pair of underwear. Let's go down there and let's find it together. So I'm like, okay, well, I told her my size in drawers. She pulled out this box of underwear and they were used. And I'm like, no, 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 no. See, I'm on my period. I can't just wear anybody's underwear. You ain't getting brand new ones? She was like, no, we don't. This is what we give everybody. We went down into the basement and there's this huge closet full of nothing but clothes that have been donated. We'll talk about you guys donating your little nasty drawers later. That'll be a video for Saturday or Sunday. Please look forward to that one. Because there's a number of shelters that's passing out your dirty underwear. Nasty, raggedy stuff, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. So, I'm like, no, no, no. Do you know she would not let me wear my own underwear? I'm sitting up here bleeding. And I had to put on somebody else's stuff that did not fit me. The crotch area was gone. I felt violated. And I had to sit down and I had to reason within myself and say, had I known this before I made that 4+ hour journey, would I have did things differently? Because in my mind, wearing somebody else's underwear is just nasty. But we were in a safe place. So we had the option, of going upstairs, or the kids could go downstairs and eat. Upstairs, we had our own private room, dresser, 2 sets of bunk beds. There was 4 of us, so one for each of us. And there was a long hallway, and each hallway had a room number on it. Each room had beds. They were not all the same. They were all decorated. They were very pretty, with themes and different things like that. So each family had their own room. So I was so excited. I'm like, okay, tomorrow we get to see who else is here, because she said that, there's always people here and everything else. There was approximately 12, 13 rooms, and each room had at least 3, 4. Some had more beds than that for larger families when they came. So we went downstairs into the basement, showed us, there's like 7, 8 refrigerators down there. Each family is assigned a refrigerator, a full-size refrigerator. You can get a gallon of milk, gallon of orange juice, and they have, freeze area with locked up food where you can cook and everything else. So they're supposed to, which I didn't understand at the time, they give you enough food to last a week. But if you get food stamps, they give you enough till your food stamps come in. Didn't understand that at all either. So, I didn't care for the cat. Oh, I don't know if I told you guys about the cat. Okay, well, they had a cat there. It was the shelter cat named Morticia. Morticia kept get up on the couch And I'm like, okay, I'm not a cat lover. I don't like dogs. If you're down to swim in a fishbowl, I don't like you. But I'm like, okay, well, what is Morticia doing? What is Morticia really doing? Morticia was vomiting on the entire couches trying to get hairballs out. I thought Morticia was dying, is what I really thought. Well, the next morning, got up, kids went downstairs, got them some cereal and everything else. And I became aware of one thing. Out of the 12, 13 rooms there, only 3 were occupied. Me, my 3 kids, a single lady, and another woman with 3 babies. I'm like, this is the grand full house that you were talking about. So I talked to the other ladies. I'm like, yeah, I heard that they just put out a bunch of people and everything else. They said, what are you talking about? One lady was like, I've been here for 2 months. You and the other lady are the only 2 I've seen in 2 months. I was like, oh, wow. When I say this is a national place, this is a national place. So I'll tell you the name of it at the end of the video, though. But, so we got to talking. And another lady, one of the staff member came down and said, well, you guys have chores. Since you 3 ladies are the only 3 here, you 3 are in charge of doing all the chores. You can pick and choose which chores you want to do, but all the chores need to be done. We talking about 3 levels worth of shelter. Most of it was not even used. They still wanted it clean every day. Okay. I learned some things along the way. I would sit there and I would talk to some of the members. Some of the staff members were really nice. Some were not. Some were kind of nasty and rude. Didn't know how to deal with clients who came from a domestic violence situation. But let me tell you in particular, they gave us a roll of toilet paper. Me and my kids had got food poisoning. So, we had diarrhea, upset stomach, and everything else. They wouldn't allow you to buy medicine, so you had to use theirs. So I'm like, okay, well, can I get some toilet paper? So the lady gave me a roll of toilet paper. And it was one of those cheap rolls that didn't last long. Like, it should be this thick. It was like that thick, You get 4 rolls for 69 cents, that type of toilet paper. So there's 4 of us, and we all got diarrhea. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll use this tonight, and then, in the morning, get some more. So the next morning, we needed more toilet paper. So I went down and asked staff member, hey, can we get some more toilet paper? Because, we were really sick and everything else. And, yeah, they said, let me look in the log and see if you were given toilet paper already. She looked in the log. She said, oh, you were given toilet paper. That should have lasted you a whole week. So, I'm sorry, our stomach's upset and we have diarrhea and we're really sick. So we really need more toilet paper. So she said, well, I'm going to give you this roll. Same little thin roll of toilet paper. And she said, this needs to last you. I said, okay. At the time, I didn't know that when we got food the first night, we should have got a week's worth. I just asked for enough for that night. So I went back down later on that day and said, hey, look, can I get some food so I can cook dinner for my kids? Another staff member went into the log and said, oh, you got food last night. That should have lasted you a whole week. I said, no, I only got enough for one night. But can I get some more tonight? Well, hold on, I have to call the director and make sure it's okay, because we might run out of food. I got a chance to peek inside the storage room where the freezer area was kept for meat, the shelf area. We talking about hygiene, everything. There was no way in HE 2 weeks they were going to ever run out of anything, not with 3 rooms being occupied. She came back about 30 minutes later. Staff, she said, the director said, I can give it to you, but you got to get enough for the rest of the week. I said, okay. I'm not really big into processed foods because I have high blood pressure. I have a child that's a vegetarian, and I have another child that's picky And I have one that'll eat all the meat in the world, but no vegetables. So I'm trying to accommodate them and make sure that everything is okay. And, emotionally they're okay. Why woosah all what was happening with us out. But as time went on, they had an event. But let me back up. There were certain staff members that were kind of friendly, so I would always go down there and talk to them. And when it came down to the crisis hotline, when people would call in like, I need a place to stay, I need a place to stay, they all said the same thing, which I've heard repeatedly out of other organizations as well. We are so full, you're going to have to call somebody else. Tell me about your situation. And they will listen, they will jot everything down. And then at the end of the call, they will repeat again. I'm so sorry, we're so crowded, we can't afford, we have no place for you to sleep. And I'm like, you got 10 rooms upstairs with a bunch of beds. And if they can't call a domestic violence shelter and seek refuge, where else are they going to go? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Actually, it is here and there. Because this organization on a regular basis will go out into the community, to churches, to schools, to businesses, and solicit donations based on the full house that they had. I'm going to let you work that one out right there. So as time went on, it was like, okay, it was quite obvious that they were not going to do the things that needed to be done for us and my family. I sat down with the case manager, and she said, well, we're getting ready to have this big old thing, a fundraiser, and we're shutting down the whole shelter. So you need to find some place to go at 6 in the morning and don't come back to 8 o'clock at night. This was a Saturday. I had to remind her I was not from the area. Where were we going to go at 6 in the morning to come back late at night? She said, I don't know. You need to figure that out. So when we got there, so I'm like, okay, well, I told my kids, we'll work it out. We'll get in the car, we'll stay in the car, we'll do whatever we got to do, drive around. We went to the library, we did everything we had. So eventually, the day of the event, we kept ourselves busy. The director called and said, I came back early just so you guys don't have to be out all night. She came back about 4 o'clock. I was grateful for that because we had stuck it out at the library. We had we sucked up as much free Wi-Fi as we could. Mind you, this is a little small hick town. Don't tell them I said it. But it's in Lynchburg, Virginia. So if you've been in Lynchburg, Virginia, there's not a lot of things popping in Lynchburg, Virginia. So she was nice enough to come back, and I'm laughing because I'm getting ready to get to the end of the story, and I was amazed at what happened. I thought I've seen it all. So we got back to the shelter, and she was like, oh, it was an amazing event. You should have came to the event. I said, yeah, I would have came since it was supposed to, the shelter, but guess what? They didn't offer us any tickets or anything else. It was a whole carnival, rides, and a lot of other things. I'm like, okay, so since I'm at the shelter, you would think that they would want my kids to enjoy a good day and have some fun and take their minds off of domestic violence situation. Yeah, right. They was like, no, you got to pay your money just like everybody else gonna pay their money too. I was like, wow. So we left about 5 days later. 2 days after the carnival incident, my youngest baby got sick. She caught a nasty, nasty cold. So I went down to get a caseworker. Hey, look, do you have a coat? Some long sleeves and everything else. It was starting to get cold. And she said, well, I'll send one of my aides out to find her some clothes. Told her what size my baby wear. She looked at my baby. I say baby, but she's not a baby. At the time, she wore a 4 or 5 in juniors. She's a little shorter than me. I'm 5'2", so she was a little shorter than me. 4 or 5 in juniors. Why did she keep bringing back a size 6T? Brought back shorts and shirts, and I'm like, it's cold. My baby is cold. She has a nasty cold, and she's coughing and she's doing all this other stuff. So they said, well, we're going to have to quarantine your family, but all we're giving you is shorts and these short T-shirts and the shirts with the back out and everything else. And I'm like, but she going to die of pneumonia. They was like, well, we can go out there and look, but we don't think there's anything else out there. I actually had to talk to another worker the following day in order to get adequate clothes for my child. I thought that was poor discretion on the case manager, but that's neither here nor there. But let me tell you something that was so odd to me. They had a maintenance man that would work, and he would just come and go as they see fit. And like I said, this is a little small little hick town. And I couldn't understand why he had keys to the door and he would come and go. I'm like, okay, well, because children are up in here and because it's the climate in here, you would think he would go through staff and staff would say, hey, look, we got, strangers on the premise or whatever. Yeah, there was none of that. But one night, in the middle of the night, my oldest daughter said, Mom, I want something to drink. So is it okay if I go and get something to drink? She's asthmatic, so every once in a while, when she's coughing real hard, sure, go and get you something to drink. I didn't feel like going down there with her. She came back up stairs to the second floor and said, Mom. I was like, what? There's a man down there going through all the refrigerators. What you mean there's a man down there going through all the refrigerators, right? At this point, there were only 2 families there, and that was me, my 3 kids, and another lady the single lady. The lady with the 3 small kids, she had left. She went back to her house. She had a house, and her children's father had actually moved out during that period of time, so she went back home. So the 16, 17 gallons of milk and the 10 gallons of orange juice that they would get once a week, there was plenty of juice there. We were, and I'm, okay, let me not get ahead of myself. But anyway, so my daughter came up and she was like, Mama, there's a man down there. I'm like, what you mean there's a man down there? Middle of the night in a domestic violence shelter? I was alarmed because I didn't know who it was, right? So come to find out it was somebody that the director knew. She had brought him in and they were looking for milk and juice so they can take home. And people say that stuff that goes to the shelter goes directly to the residents. That's not true. Most of it goes to the employees and their families. We'll talk about that more later too. So, 2 days later, we were sleeping in the middle of the night. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, the alarm goes off. Alarm goes on. Whoa, 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 whoa. So there's only me, my 3 kids, and a single lady, and a staff member that's on the first floor, right by the door, taking calls from people coming in, from people trying to get in, who did not get in. Nobody else got in. Nobody else got in. I just want to tell you that, okay? First of all. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe something, it was an old building. So I'm like, well, maybe something is wrong and somebody set fire somewhere or whatever. So I'm like, well, let me go and stand in the hallway. So I went and stood in the hallway, and the single lady who was there as well, she was like, well, do you hear that? She was like, what's wrong? I'm like, okay, I don't know what's wrong. She didn't smell smoke. I didn't smell smoke. Nobody saw any fire or anything else, right? So it's like, she was like, well, let's just go outside anyway. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm getting my kids up. And I'm like, okay, everybody come on. And, I ain't know what was going on. Get your butt up. Get up. Get your clothes on. Let's get outside. Go downstairs I'm like, okay, because the staff member never came out. She never came out. So I'm like, okay, well, let me go and open up this door because she wasn't in there where you take phone calls. So they have a little seating area, And I said, let me go, maybe she's in the seating area. And the door was shut. So I'm like,